ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन धियन्तु सूर्यभद्राणि विदुनोति सुरसताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमा श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंद गोप कुमार गोविंदाय नमः। Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for your association. पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. I seek your blessings and your permission to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam so that I can purify my own self and speak on behalf of our Guru Parampara. Hare Krishna. We are reading Canto 1, Chapter 15, text number 36. 1, 15, 36. Please repeat after me. यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
तदा हरे एवा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तता
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्धनत्
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तता
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्धनत्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
जहु स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
जहु स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तता
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तता
One chant.
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
यदा मुकुंदो भगवान् मामहिम्
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
जहो स्वतन्वा श्रवणीय सत्कथा
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
तदा हरे वा प्रतिबुद्धचेतसाम्
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तत
अभद्रहेतु कलिरन्ववर्तता. Word for word translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
जय
Jai. Yada,
Yada,
when
when
Mukunda,
Mukunda,
Lord Krishna,
Lord Krishna,
Bhagavan,
Bhagavan,
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead,
Imam,
Imam,
this, Mahim,
Mahim,
earth,
Earth,
Jaho,
Jaho,
left,
left,
Swatanva,
Satvanva,
with his self same body,
with his self-same body.
Shravaniya Satkatha,
Sravaniya Satkatha,
hearing about him is worthwhile.
hearing about him is worthwhile.
Tada,
Tada,
at that time,
at that time,
Aha Eva,
Aha Eva,
from the very day,
from the very day,
Apratibuddha Chetasam,
Aprati Buddha Chetasam,
of those whose minds are not sufficiently developed,
of those whose minds are not sufficiently developed.
Abhadra Hetu,
Abhadra Hetu,
cause of all ill fortune,
cause of all ill fortune.
Kali Anvavartata,
Kali Anvatata,
Kali fully manifested.
Kali fully manifested.
Translation: when the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, left this earthly planet in his self-same form, from that very day, Kali, who had already partially appeared, became fully manifest to create inauspicious conditions for those who are endowed with the poor fund of knowledge. Purport: the influence of Kali can be enforced only upon those who are not fully developed in God consciousness. One can neutralize the effects of Kali by keeping oneself fully under the supreme care of the personality of Godhead. The age of Kali ensued just after the battle of Kurukshetra, but it could not exert its influence because of the presence of the Lord. The Lord, however, left this earthly planet in his own transcendental body, and as soon as he left, the symptoms of the Kali Yuga, as were envisioned by Maharaj Yudhishthir prior to Arjuna's arrival from Dwarka, began to manifest. And Maharaj Yudhishthir rightly conjectured on the departure of the Lord from the earth. As we have already explained, the Lord left our sight just as when the sun sets, it is out of our sight. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I took a hint from Adinath Krishna Prabhu that there's already a class by Srila Prabhupada on this verse. So I read the transcript. I could not hear the lecture, but it was very helpful. So most of my points will be from that lecture and then my own realizations. Hare Krishna. So in this purport and text, we see that Lord, there are two main points. One is that Lord left in his self-same body. So, which is inconceivable for many people because as we read in the last verse, Adinath Krishna Prabhu explained, Lord's departure is like a magician jugglery, or magician is showing a feat where he cuts his body to pieces, where he is unconscious, or even he dies. But that's just a trick of the magician. So for an ordinary being who does not understand the magic, he will see this as an ordinary person. He will see this that the magician has died, or magician is unconscious, or is cut to pieces. But a person who knows that this is just a trick, he won't fall for it. Right? So similarly, one whose eyes are trained with the spiritual knowledge, with the knowledge of Shastra, he won't fall for this um, Krishna's Maya, which is Krishna does it to bewilder the conditioned living entities. So one who sees by Shastra Chakshu with the eyes of scriptures, he can see the real truth. So the second part of this translation is that Kali took effect by creating inauspicious conditions for those with a poor fund of knowledge. So it is our responsibility, it is individual responsibility to be reading Shastra, to hear from authorized sources, so that we don't fall in the category of poor fund of knowledge. Otherwise, one will be bewildered by Maya or by at different levels of ignorance. So we hear that when we go to drive DMV test, so they ask us to read the DMV handbook before we even drive, before we get the license or the learner's permit. So one has to have the knowledge of different signs in the traffic. How should we be careful while taking a right turn or a left turn? How we should be careful about the pedestrians. When there's an ambulance, how we should move our vehicle to a side. So all those information is required so that we can drive our vehicle safely. So such a person will not be bewildered while driving. He can drive smoothly. Similarly, a person whose eyes are trained in knowledge, he won't be bewildered by Lord's departure. Even though there was a body, the Krishna left a body for others to see that, oh, it's an ordinary being dying like me. But it's a trick of a magician. So uh, there are many beautiful words in this verse. One is called Atma Maya. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 6, that he appears by his own will. He's unborn and he never dies. Avyayam. He's never vanquished. And he is the controller of the whole universe, all the living entities, Ishvaro, Pisan. So whenever he appears by his own sweet will, Atmaya, as Adhinath Krishna also explained in the last verse. Na tasya karyam karanam cha vidyate. He does not have anything to do. Like we go to work because we owe something, there's a song about it. I owe, so off the work I go, because we owe to the family, we owe to the landlord, we owe to our school for education loan. So that's why we go to work. We have to go to work. We don't have a choice. But on the other hand, Krishna, he is not forced. He doesn't have to go to work. He's simply enjoying with his devotees. That is the difference between a living entity and Krishna. So one has to train oneself in that knowledge. That is called one whose mind is developed. When one trains one trains oneself with this knowledge, that's how the mind is developed. We can see the example of a mechanic or a software engineer. When there's a problem in a car, I won't be able to see what is going on. But when we show the same problem to a mechanic, even by listening the sound of the engine, he can figure out what's going on. Why? Because his mind is trained in that science. It's not about seeing. It's about training of the mind. Even by listening, he can understand what's the problem. Similarly, when we go to a doctor, he can feel our pulse. He can feel our heartbeat. He doesn't have to see. Because his mind is developed in that knowledge, he can appreciate what's wrong in this. what is expected behavior, what's going wrong. A software engineer can detect bugs, by doing certain kind of testing, because his mind is developed in that way. So just like any material science, one has to develop one's mind in spiritual science. So one may say, okay, material science is still perceivable at the level, at some level. I mean, for example, at the level of sound, at the level of like pulses, or seeing, sometimes even seeing, we can understand. But how do we understand that Krishna is transcendental? We are seeing that he's leaving his body, you know. It seems like any ordinary person, you know. So yes, actually, because Krishna is spiritual, his body is spiritual, so only a spirit can appreciate his arrival and departure. So we cannot use material senses in order to understand Krishna's pastimes. We can only use our spiritual experiences to experience Krishna's pastimes. That's why Prabhupada says, Premanjana Churit Bhakti Vilochanena, that it's Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is praying that only a person whose eyes are anointed with love and devotion for the Supreme can understand Krishna. So the soul can experience another soul through this, through because of being a soul. We cannot understand another soul because we have senses, material senses. So it has to come through the scriptural knowledge, through the mercy of Krishna. We can see the after effects. For example, I was thinking about a virus, a virus like COVID. So the virus is not visible to us, but when it takes shelter in our body, after some days, we will see the results of it. So even though we cannot perceive it, we can see the results of getting infected, or for that matter, any other infection or disease. Similarly, the spiritual subject matter, because it is so subtle, I mean, even subtler than this virus, we cannot actually see it. We cannot see how it is working, but we can see the results. How is it affecting my gross existence? How is it affecting my mind? How is it affecting my intelligence? How is it affecting my body? So that's why people go for yoga and meditation, because they feel better in their mind, in their body. So they feel something. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that everybody everybody is looking for him, but in their different ways. But everyone is looking for him. And that verse is. So how does that? Manushya Parth Sadhusha. They would recollect the beginning of that shloka. But everyone is looking for Krishna in all respects. Manushya Parth Sadhusha, that's the last part of that shloka in Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada says in the lecture that Krishna consciousness movement is for taking people from illusion to reality. Do you have the shloka? Yeah, thank you. ये यथा मां प्रपद्यन्ते तामस्तथैव भजाम्यहम् मम वर्तमान वर्तन्ते मनुष्य भार सदृशा. What is the translation to?
As all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Krita.
Yeah. So as people surrender into Krishna in different forms, some people see Krishna just as a fulfiller of one's desires. The universe is providing me with food and air, so they are appreciative. And so Krishna fulfills that. Krishna appreciates it at that level. Some people see God as some impersonal force, or luck, or karma. So Krishna appreciates it, and he awards in that manner. And some people worship god for mystic powers, different demigods. So Krishna appreciates them. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, Krishna says, if anybody wants material things, then I give them faith in a demigod so that they can pursue that path. And when they develop devotion or they do bhakti or service to that demigod, their desires are fulfilled. Although those desires are fulfilled by me, actually, through the demigods. So Krishna appreciates it. Okay, they are approaching me in that way. And in seventh itself, Krishna says, one approaches me who is a distressed condition, who is in need of wealth, who is searching for the absolute truth, and one who is inquisitive. So Krishna appreciates them and he encourages them in that way. Then there are people who do not understand Krishna's personal form. They think that Krishna is impersonal. So okay, so Krishna gives them the liberty, the freedom to think like that. But Krishna says they are mudas, they are bewildered. So Krishna says, Avyaktam Vyaktim Apannam Manyante Mama Buddhya. This is 7th chapter, text 27. Knowledge of the Absolute. This is 724. Avyaktam Vyaktimapannam Manyante Mama Buddhaya Param Bhavam Ajananto Mama Vyayam Manuttamam. You have it? Yeah. Okay. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is imperishable and supreme. Then text 25 says, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavrita mudhoyam nabhijanati loko mamajam avyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So Krishna is setting the right expectations. So if you don't experience Krishna, then Krishna is saying, if you stay foolish, if you choose to stay foolish and unintelligent, then I reserve the right to be hidden. I'm covered by my internal potency. So therefore, they do not know that I'm unborn and infallible. And in 15th chapter, Krishna talks about how this world is like a inverted banyan tree. 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, how this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Just like when we go to the bank of a river, if there is a tree outside on the bank, we see the reflection of the tree in the river. So if there is a fruit, in actual fruit, you will see a reflection. So similarly, in this material world, we see relationships, we see different kind of rasas, for example, as a father, as a mother, as a sibling, as a beloved, as a lover, as a friend, as a son. So these relationships are there in the original spiritual world, but they are reflected here in the material world. They are not real. One reason is that the bodies are not real, they're temporary. Second thing is that they are missing Krishna. So they are not fulfilling because there is some selfish motive in these relationships. So we cannot fully experience the joy of relationships here. That's why people tend to go towards impersonalism many times. So in that chapter, Krishna explains how this world is like an inverted banyan tree. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. Krishna says this. This is so simple. If you want to know the Veda, you can just read 15th chapter. So there Krishna explains that how He is sustaining all the planetary systems. How is the fire in the stomach, fire of digestion? How he is the sun and the moon, because of which we get all the vegetables and grains. So not only he gives the seed for the fruits and vegetables, he provides the light and water so that they can grow. And he is the fire of digestion in our stomach so that we can digest it. He is the fire on our stove so that we can cook that food. So he's end to end. End to end, he's taking care of us. So he's giving all those details in 15th chapter. And then he says, Yatanto yoginaschainam. This is 15:11. Pashyanti atma. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmanyavasthitam. Yatanto pyakritatmano nainam pashyantya chetasa. Translation. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. You have it, Prabhu. Purport.
There are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual realization, but one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this direction. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis, and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatantopi akritatmanaha. Even though they are endeavoring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the Bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotion service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place.
Yeah. This is a subtle subject matter. So when we practice it, then we can realize, we can appreciate it. So this example of sun going out of our sight that Prabhupada mentions, that sun is always there in its fixed position, but we do not see. So, yeah, for example, I was giving this example earlier. I go out of this house, I won't see Vishal Guru, but Vishal Guru is still there. That's not his fault, but it's my fault that I cannot see him. Similarly, Krishna is always existing. It's just that he's not manifest to me. Why? Because he's covered by his internal potency. He deserves the right to be manifest or unmanifest. So Krishna is always existing, as he says, in the different forms, but he's manifest and unmanifest according to his sweet will. And when he's unmanifest, then Kali Yuga takes over. Kali Yuga actually gets the chance to exert its pressure, exert its effect, but only on those whose minds are not fully developed. Otherwise, people whose minds are developed, they worship Kali Yuga because the process of in Kali Yuga is so easy. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, there is a prayer that Kalim Sabha Jayanti Arya Gunagnya Sar Bhagina Yatra Sankirtane Naiva Sarva Swartho Bhilabhite. That the people who are self-realized, they worship Kali Yuga. That Kalim Kalim Sabha Jayanti Arya Gunagnya Sar Bhagina. One who knows the essence, they worship Kali Yuga. Because in Kali Yuga, Sankirtane Naiva, just by performing Sankirtan, Sarva Swartho Bhilabhite. One receives all the benefits, everything that one can do by performing Vedic sacrifices, by meditation for thousands of years, by temple worship, by yajnas, by austerities, visiting different dhams, simply by doing Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. कलेर दोष निधे राजन अस्ति ही एको महान गुना कीर्तना देव कृष्णस्य मुक्त संग Parambraj. So Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults. In 12th canto, Shukdev Goswami explained few chapters that this will be, you will see this fault in Kali Yuga, you will see this. People will be thinking that the beauty is by the hairstyle. The hairstyle, the best hairstyle you have, the more beautiful you are. The relationship between man and woman will be based on attraction. It's not based on commitment. It's not based on yajna. People who can speak very harshly or who can speak very arrogantly, they will be taken as truthful. And the business will be only cheating. One who can cheat, he will be the most successful in business. And people will wear the sutra, this thread. They will be Brahman just by wearing a thread. They won't have any qualities of a Brahman. They will change from one ashram to another ashram just on the basis of external dress. Okay, I've worn saffron, now I'm a sannyasi or I'm a brahmachari, simply by the external appearances. There won't be any substance. People who do not have money, they will be considered unholy. The value of a person will not be judged based on his character, but based on how much money he has. So these are all the different faults in Kali Yuga that Shukdev Goswami mentions in 12th canto. And then at the end he says, Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, but there is one great quality. Kirtana Deva Krishnasya, simply by doing Kirtan of Krishna Nam, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Mukta Sangha Param Brajet. One can get free from the association of this material energy, this Maya, which is keeping us entangled in the cycle of birth and death, which doesn't let us see Krishna. We see Krishna as an ordinary being. We don't understand how Krishna's deity form is non-different from Krishna. That is because of Maya. So we can see Krishna in true understanding. So there are two examples I wanted to give. One is the example of holy. Yeah. So people in this material world, they either try to enjoy the matter or they try to renounce. There are two paths. But Prabhupada says there is a real conception of enjoyment. There is enjoyment, but real conception is there in the spiritual world. So we see Krishna dancing with gopis. So people try to imitate. Let me also dance with girls. I will also enjoy. But they are frustrated. Prabhupada says that even when one becomes old, he cannot enjoy, but they still go to the bars and pubs. They cannot enjoy, but they still go to enjoy with young girls. So they are frustrated ultimately because that doesn't give lasting satisfaction. Or they try to renounce the world. Okay, forget everything. No relationships, nothing. But Prabhupada says there is dancing in the spiritual world. One has to really understand it in the right ways. So in Vrindavan, Krishna would play Holi, the festival of colors with all the Brajvasis. They would also throw butter and ghee on each other. They had so much milk and butter, everything. So this is like it might seem like material sense gratification, but actually that is the fun. That is the fun of spiritual life. Everything is abundant when Krishna is in the center. There is no dearth of anything. So Prabhupada says many times that I came to the Western world with 40 rupees, but now I have 40 crores. Because Krishna is in the center. Krishna supplies everything. He was saying that we have 108 centers all over the world, and Krishna is maintaining all of them. We simply go and beg. We chant Hare Krishna, we distribute our literature, we beg. And Krishna is running all of these centers. So if Krishna is the center, then this enjoyment will be in the right terms. We relish nice prasadam, we have nice dancing, we have music. So it's not about sense gratification. It is sense gratification actually, but it is real. It is connected with Krishna. So there is happiness, there is enjoyment, but according to the regulative principles, according to religious principles. And eating also. So sometimes we try to just eat according to our desire, or we don't. It could be violent food. It could be by killing animals, or it could be vegan, vegetarian without offering to Krishna. So such food can lead to misery or eating too much. So there can be mode of passion, mode of ignorance, mode of goodness, but they won't satisfy until we connect them to Krishna. Then prasadam actually can purify our consciousness. That prasadam takes us to the mode of pure goodness. Then we can realize that, oh yes, there is a supreme person. There's a relationship with him, and then one feels satisfied. So for that person, Kali Yuga is not there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm open for any questions or corrections. I live to be corrected. Hare Krishna, we have a few minutes online or in person studio. Reflections, the questions to expand the conversation.
We know what the worst is to but okay, you said the capital verse.
I don't have it right now, but
Okay.
you can search it. It's called Kalim Sabhajayanti Arya Gunadnyasar Bhagina. I think it's
11:5.
okay. Could you read the translation for that text?
Those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtan.
We'll stop here. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
Kautukarnav Prabhu ki jai.